Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar Wednesday. I'm Michael Tigos, and I'll be your host today. I am happy to welcome back to the webinar Pranav Babsar and Nitin Mangal, who will discuss their deep dive analysis on United Spirits, and they will share their views about what's in store for the company in 2021. Nitin is a SEBI registered research analyst with more than 10 years experience in Indian equities, specializing in corporate governance and accounting research in the Indian market. While Pranav focuses on research on consumer themes and companies operating in India or global companies that has significant exposure to India and its economy. Nitin, Pranav, I will pass the mic on to you. I understand you have a very interesting presentation for us today.
Thanks, Michael. Good afternoon, everyone. So the first slide, what we'll be sharing is the agenda of this webinar. So this is just to brief you about the flow of the presentation, what we are having today. Before that, I'll just give you a brief about the Triple I, which is India Independent Insight. This is a collaborative initiative between me and Pranav. So our approach is very much different from the market, whereby we focus on forensic research of the companies, and we combine that aspect with the on-ground and primary research to give a holistic view on the company. We ideally look for the Indian companies, from mid cap to large cap companies, and our task is the way we provide our research is to give a differentiated and then a differentiated view to the investors. Now the USL, we just logged on, walked down to the memory lane. So this is one of the largest liquor company in India, used floated by Mr. Malia. But because they have done some expensive acquisitions, the working capital management was not optimal, and they were not able to utilize the resources. So this company went into a huge debt pile, and there was an issues regarding the governance and siphoning of the funds. The allegation was being made against Mr. Malia. In 2014, Diageo has acquired this company, and they have around 55% stake in the USL. So the inflection point why Diageo has acquired the USL, the first point what they saw is the Indian economy is flourishing, and they see that national transformation is going to happen with the help of enhancing the disposable income and accelerating the lifestyle evolution of the Indian public. The second point what they were thinking is that given the brand positioning of USL, they thought that it will be aspirational, and with the premiumization of the products, they'll be able to achieve the higher growth in the market and share the large market share. But what has happened? So Mr. Maria has messed up the company, and because of this legacy issue, the company was bleeding. It was having a debt as high as more than 100% of market capitalization. After that, when Diageo acquired this company, the first thing they have done is they have taken very hard steps, and they cleaned up the balance sheet of the company. They have written off a lot of loans and advances given to the related parties. There were some idle items which was part of the financial statements. They have taken hit on entire income statement, and if you see, in the last 5 years, they are able to revert the company to the profitability, and now the margins are improving for the USL. The first thing what they did is the deleveraging, which are the biggest task for the Diageo, because the finance cost for the company was as high as 10% of the total sales. Then, so for achieving the deleveraging itself, what they have done is they have effectively managed their working capital, and they have divested non-core assets, which has helped them to reduce debt, which was as high as 51 billion INR in F12 to almost debt-free in F21. Now, in the working capital, what the company has done, so they have franchised out most of the popular brands to the third-party operators, so that the working capital is improved because this product was not very high profit making, and they were able to they were able to reduce net working capital ratio to sales from 30% to 20%, and freed up a lot of cash flow, which they have able to repay the debts of the company. Now, if you look at the asset turnover ratio of the company. After 2015, there's a continuous increase in the asset turnover ratio and the asset efficiency. Even though as on the date, the company is having around 1,200 odd crore rupees of the assets, which are non-core assets, and they are going to monetize, and this is going to further help them to strengthen the balance sheet of the company. So this is a brief background on the financial position of the company, and we feel that this company is in the perfect position, given some inflection points and catalysts which are going to play out in future. So they can improve their balance sheet, the margins is going to improve, and this company is going to flourish in near next 3 to 5 years. Now we have done a lot of ground research on that, and I guess Pranav is going to highlight what we have found out and what was the finding from the ground research. Yeah, Pranav, over to you.
Thank you, Nitin. Hello, everyone. Just sharing a little bit observations from what we have been doing in our ground checks. One thing which came out very clear was the proven brand resilience with USL brands had. So if you look over the last 5-6 years, USL was in a transitionary period. There was a completely reorganizing exercise taken post the takeover. At the same time, Pernod had a very the largest competitor for USL. Pernod had a very stable management team, which was operating for more than 10 to 15 years. So in spite of a very aggressive, stable competitor, USL did not lose market share. So which we believe that this signals the brand resilience which USL brands have, that in spite of a strong competitor, in spite of management reorganization, etc., USL was able to protect its brands. Secondly, what we have been seeing from some of the channel interactions, that over the last 1 or 2 years, USL has been making a conscious effort in terms of improving its market communication, and whereby leading to an improvement in its brand equity. So USL has been working on packaging, has been working a little bit trying to strengthen its brands, which we believe over the longer period of time should aid into brand building. And also India is a very especially the liquor market, spirit market in India is very, very peculiar, wherein there is hardly any value in the popular segment, which is the lower end segment of the market. Which is why even USL as well as Pernod, both of them are very clear that they want to focus on the prestige and above. That's the premium segment in India. So considering the regulatory pricing environment, wherein in 60% of the market you cannot increase the prices, it makes sense to focus on value rather than volumes, which seems to be the strategy USL is following. Which is in sync with the whole idea of franchising most of the popular brands, which is outsourcing. And recently also they have announced that they are going to do a strategic review of the entire brand portfolio. Also, a little bit in the pandemic, what we found that how demand environment and volume drivers are shaping in the industry. Beer has been hit very hard, and liquor also has been hit pretty hard, wherein most retailers complaining a drop of 30 to 40% in overall volumes, which is obviously driven because there were less weddings, conferences, less social occasions, which is why the volumes are hit hard. One more important thing is the retailers have been hinting on down trading, wherein people are moving below the value chain, moving below popular segments, and also to probably something what we call Indian made Indian liquor, which is a very low priced liquor. So the lower end of the market, the popular segment, has been hit the hardest. And two major factors here is, one is this Indian made Indian liquor has been gaining very high volumes because it's very, very cheap. And in terms of total volume, IMIL is around 28% of the overall market. But this downtrading is not impacting larger players like USL and Pernod Ricard, is because most of the downtrading is happening in the popular segments. And both of them, I think Pernod is not present in the popular segment, and USL has already franchised the popular segment. So they are expected to have limited impact on overall profitability. Second thing, it's a bit of contradiction, but significant premiumization is also seen. And especially when we say there are two segments, bottled in India and bottled in origin. So these are premium brands where the customers who have been spending home, they have higher disposable incomes, duty fees are shut. So they are seeing a uptrend and what we call uptrading in these brands. So overall volumes, what our channels is suggesting, that we will see some kind of government intervention, because the lower volumes are hurting state governments, wherein most of them collect around 10 to 15% of tax revenue just on liquor. And if the customers are moving to Indian liquors or country liquors where the tax component is very less, their sales are getting, the tax collections are getting impacted. So we might not be surprised that if there's some government intervention coming down the line. A lot of optimism was there with regards to online. There were some states which allowed online and home delivery of alcohol. We believe that this is not a near-term catalyst. It can play out in the long term, wherein probably around 10% volume can be added for the industry because of the online availability. But the important thing is, because of online, the pilferage or surface alcohol adulteration is coming under check. So this could aid volumes going forward. Most of the fight in the Indian spirit market is happening in the mid-prestige segment. So wherein both USL and Pernod Ricard together mostly control over 70% of the Indian market. And the core fight, if you look, is between Blender's Pride, that is the brand of Pernod, and USL's brand Signature and Antiquity. There have also been brands like Royal Challenge and Royal Stag, which are competing against each other. So what we have seen is that the popular brands, are getting impacted. Director Special, Old Tavern are impacted. USL's popular brands are getting impacted because of down trading, but not due to product quality or loss of competition to PR. And USL's premium brands like Black Dog, Black and White are usually witnessing customer upgrades. And these upgrades are typically driven by retailers also. Sometimes in some markets where retailers have the flexibility, they are passing on additional discounts in trying to convert the customers from prestige brands to these prestige and above premium brands, which we believe is a healthy mix for USL. Some indications are also coming in wherein Pernod is not giving enough trade support in certain markets, wherein the retailers are slowly moving towards brands like USL, which are giving some trade support. So having a good trade support is crucial. And the reason why Pernod is not giving trade support is because they seems to be getting into the zone that in the mid prestige segment, they are leaders and no one can defeat them. So this is something which can accelerate and can be a near-term catalyst.
Yeah, Pranav, so I want to add, because we were discussing on that day. So this is the first time in last 6-7 years when retailers, when we interacted with the retailers, they have signaled that Blender's Pride has first time lost the market share in last 6 months. Right, Pranav?
Yeah. So which is where the core catalyst or core inflection point for USL can come in. If he's able to capture some more market share in this particular segment, this should do wonders for the company. So why we say heads I win, tails I don't lose. What we are arguing here is that we know the downside in USL. Downside in USL is that the traditional volumes are going to be there. They have not lost any market share. So over the last 5-6 years, in spite of having a transitionary management change, etc., a strong competitor, so base case volumes are going to be maintained. But if we see the catalysts are very, very clear and very quantifiable, so some checks are already suggesting that USL is seeing some market share from PR. So that's an interesting catalyst which can give in substantial upside. Online has good potential, but at least over the next 1 or 2 years, we don't see it adding more than 5 to 7% to total volumes. Working capital cycle will strengthen further because of the way company has been operating. We see that the cost saving measures which the company has been taking, where we have been interacting with the channels, are likely to survive, and it should aid to EPS. The risk to our central hypothesis is that if overall sector volumes only deviate from historical trends and they start falling across all the brands, then the core hypothesis can be tested. We have been banking that USL was not losing market share. So if any change in competitive dynamics which leads to USL losing market share, then the hypothesis will be tested. Our channels also indicate that post takeover, there's a lot of what we call MNC in India. It's multinational companies which have a very standard organized way of working, and sometimes in this sector the organized way of working does not really aid in operations. So the execution becomes a challenge for such cultures. So if the culture remains like that, then it could pose a challenge for on-ground execution. Overall, Indian spirits market, the structural story has a very high overhang of the sector, regulatory interventions, etc., which has always put growth at the backseat. Some markets in India do not have pricing power, etc. So if those things further deteriorate, then our central hypothesis could be at risk. You want to add anything, Nitin?
It's fair enough. So
we are open for questions. Any questions you might have?
Thank you very much, Nitin, Pranav. One question from the audience regards any impact of ESG funds on the stock. What's your view on that?
Yeah, we did a small ESG check also post the report. So what we've been finding that, Diageo is a leader when it comes to ESG ratings. So we believe USL being a subsidiary right now, most of the ratings are coming in as average, but having a legacy and a good parentage, we don't see selling pressure or impact coming in because of ESG.
Okay. Another question from the audience mentions news about Delhi easing of regulations. Can you comment on that and what the impact would be?
Yeah, there have been some talks on easing regulations in Delhi, and a lot of these regulations are very heavily state dependent. So overall, our view is that these regulations and these regulatory environments are expected to be good for organized players like USL. There have been some changes in markets like southern markets, Andhra Pradesh, etc. But we would go with the management wherein, what they've been hinting is that these changes are part and parcel of the industry. Sometimes they work in benefit and sometimes they don't work in benefit. But there's nothing specific that would hurt USL in particular.
Got it. Another question from the attendees is there a price to earnings versus growth sanctity in United Spirits?
See, growth, we're not arguing that it's going to be a industry-wide growth rate change that, where we see volumes are substantially going to be different in the entire industry. What we are arguing is that there is a high probability, because of all the steps taken over the last couple of years, USL has a very fair chance to bring in some market share, which can justify the valuations which USL is commanding. So overall, we are not saying that the P's will expand or contract. We're just saying that there is a high probability that the things which they have been doing over the last couple of years should lead to some kind of incremental market share. Right, Nitin bhai, you want to add something here?
No, I guess it's fair enough. And I guess there's another question, I guess, on the non-core assets monetization. So as we estimate, it's around non-core assets are mostly lands and few of the companies. They are going to generate some 1,200 crore to 1,400 crore rupees of the cash in next 2 years.
Understood. Another question is, there are some talks of taxation going to potentially ABV or lower taxation rates for beer. So is it possible to be positive for both beer and spirits? If beer taxation goes to ABV or decreases, would that be greatly negative for spirits?
Well, so there is this talk, the other company, United Breweries, wherein there was high anticipation, wherein whiskey to beer transition would happen because India remains a predominantly liquor whiskey-driven country. But what we've been hearing that the reason beer volumes have hit very hard is that the prices and taxation has gone up very drastically. So even in beer, a lot of them have moved down either to liquor or to a local beer brand in the popular segments. So if the taxes are lower and beer becomes more affordable, we don't see this shift coming back to beer. And also 25% of the consumption of beer typically happens on premise in India, so which is still not picking up. And even if it picks up, the popular segment is where you would see some little traction coming back in beer. But for USL, what we are banking on is its own brands. That's the BIO brands doing pretty good, and Prestige and above, I was in upper Prestige doing better. So it will not change too much in our thesis if the taxes are lowered.
Mm-hmm. Another question is, given the stress on state finances, do you expect working capital to be strained for players in alcohol and beverage space in general and USL in particular?
Then why you want to answer?
We don't think so that working capital pressure is going to be there. See, in general, there'll be little bit pressure, but for UNSP, it won't be a major stress going forward because they've already done away with the strategies. So they already franchised out the popular segment, and they are still working on the new product portfolio what they have. So I don't think so that there'll be any pressure on UNSPs in particular.
Thank you for that. Do you see an impact from Mr. Anand Kripalu stepping down? Why do you think? Do you have any comment on the timing of his decision?
No, timing is perfect, I feel, because he has already done pretty good job when it came to cleansing of the balance sheet and improving the balance sheet health. So now it's a new team which is going to take over from 1st of April 2021. So now it's a time for the new management to come up with a new marketing strategy so that they can get benefit from that.
I see. Do you think the strategic review that Pranav mentioned earlier will have an impact on your thesis? Is there a risk of USL losing market share through this move?
No, I think in fact it will lead to consolidation of brands. There's no risk of losing market share. Our preliminary assumption is that they will review a lot of these brands in the popular segment. They have a lot of lower end brands, which I think they would start reviewing because popular is not the segment they want to be in.
Anat Indy asks, would you be able to explain the difference in regulatory pricing in prestige categories versus popular categories, which leads to consistently profits passing on raw material costs? I hope I'm reading your question right.
Yes, I think it's a very the pricing is very complicated subject in the liquor industry. So I would say we'll probably reach out to the gentleman later after the webinar. But because a lot of states have their own pricing mechanism, some states are having free pricing. So it's a lengthy discussion. We would like to take it.
Absolutely. Pranav, you mentioned that there has been significant impact due to the pandemic, I would assume, leading to lower demand. Assuming that there will be recovery in this regard post the pandemic, do you see a recovery in demand to follow suit?
See, the demand in terms of volume, this 30%, 30-40% drop, which we have been telling and which we got the feedback, has two components to it. One is the normal demand drop, which is because I think some gentlemen mentioned the HoReCa segment, that's hotel, banquets, and all that are still not up, which are not expected to be up and running for the next 1 year at least, right? So that 10, 15, 20% can come in from there. The other 10, 15% drop, which we are estimating, is coming from down trading, wherein the customers are looking for cheaper options to go for, and they're not looking for these branded spirits, So which we don't see them coming back in a big way. But anyways, it's not a core focus for both USL and PR. So our volume recovery is predominantly banked on two things, which is the prestige and above segment, plus up trading that we have been seeing in that segment. So that's going to be driving the volume recovery. And also once the whole situation normalizes and your typical hotels and all start functioning, probably in a year or two, so that's going to add. But the customer coming back to popular brands is going to be a bit of challenge. So I would estimate 4 to 5% of that lost volume could be permanently lost to these smaller brands or these local Indian brands.
I understand. Last year, there was, of course, a lot of talk about the potential of Diageo privatizing USL. And in fact, in an insight on Smart Karma, Nitin actually wrote about why he thought that would not be happening in the short term. Where we stand today, do you think this scenario could come back?
No, I don't think so, Michael, that they are going to privatize USL in near future because they have they have already buyback plan for the Diageo parent. So till the time they are not going to fulfill the promise over there, they are not going to do any buyback or such kind of thing in India. And I feel they'll definitely wait for next 4-5 years, whereby the company will generate sufficient amount of cash flow. And with the new strategies, they may do some acquisition or they may be willing to buy back some stock, but not the privatization which I'm looking at.
Got it. Well, coming right up on time. So I would like to thank you very much, gentlemen, for your presentation and also for answering all our questions today. If you wish to engage with Nitin and Pranav directly for more elaborate questions, you can contact your Smart Karma account manager in this regard. They will help you out. And if you have any other questions, please email us at research@smartkarma.com. Nitin, Pranav, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Bye-bye.